Hello, I am Lizzy with Long Distance Gamers. We are a group of friends who play games remotely due to living in different states. Today we are talking about Between Two Castles. What do I think about it? And more importantly, how do we play it remotely? Now before we get started, there are two different sides. The running side, they for sure have a copy of the game, and they play the game mostly like normal. The remote side may or may not have a copy of the game. We will be going over how the remote side sets up and how the remote side responds to the game. This is Between Two Castles set up for remote play. The running side has gone ahead and either sent a picture of all of these or has went ahead and described what they are and links them to the castles in between each players. And then what the running side will do is set up all of the room tiles. We have them divided by each of the different type. So iron, downstairs, plants, living, goblet, nothing, we just do call it a line, and then sleepy. And as you can see, it does go a little bit above the border, so you would not be able to leave it set up. You would have to take some of these and put them in these two areas. However, for remote play setup, it does work fairly well. Love that this is already included. And then this will stay the same with the exception of these cards. We will go ahead and pull them out and separate them into piles by the victory points. Something else the running side will do is send a picture of the player aid to the sides without a copy. Then we also include it into the corner of our camera. I do again use OBS for the camera so that way I can include things like that for the remote sides to be able to see. And also the running side will go ahead and send a picture of this so that way the remote side would be able to see what cards are available. We have them numbered 1 through 20 so that the remote side can just go ahead and write down what number they have and then a brief description as to what the power is. Something you will want to have on hand: card holders. These are just barely thick enough to be able to put these tiles in. However, very, very, very much needed as we will be drafting these tiles. So what would happen would be the running side would go ahead and show me my hand. So we would just grab some of these and then they'll just go ahead and put them in. Ideally, you want to put them barely in so that people will be able to see the names and any information that might be necessary. And you want to put them kind of close together because you have quite a few to put in here. Then they would hold it up to the camera, or they would take a picture of this while squinting so that way they can't make out the rooms, as it can be a little bit hard to see unless you're super close. And then the remote side would go ahead and pull the rooms, and then if they need them to rotate, they'd be like, say, just agree on which side's one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 would be up here. So if you need to be able to see 9, just be like, hey, can you show me 9 really quick? And they pull it out, put it to the camera. Ideally, it will focus. Or you can always just put it up to the close-up camera, which is what I do. And then everyone's going to be choosing simultaneously. I want to play these two tiles. Once everyone has confirmed that they are ready, we just agree again on which one's one. And so I will say I will play my 3 and my 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those get placed in front of me. And then this, I would just move this tile to the front row so that it's easier to be seen. And then that gets moved to the next player. And then everyone reveals. So I just always put them up to the close-up camera and say these are what Brooksy chose and what Kitty chose. And then we just talk amongst ourselves and we decide how we want to place them. Brooksby and I will agree that we want to go ahead and place this one over here, so we would just go ahead and place it on column 2 above the throne. And we also agreed to place the lavatory. We'll go ahead and place that in column 1. Kitty and I agreed to place our echo chamber and the torch study and the torch story and the torch storage will go in our kingdom, while these other two will go with Brooksy and Kitty. So we agree that the echo chamber will go ahead and go column one on the side, making a new column 1. And then we will go ahead and place the torch chamber out column 1 on the north side. So that way we now have 2 rows. These, though, we'll just go ahead and place them underneath column 1 and on top of column 1. And then I can see what is in my new hand. So I would just grab a new thing and they would have 7 tiles in there now. And they just hold it up to the camera. Or again, take a picture while squinting and send it to me. And then I will choose what I want to play. For instance, I would play these 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to play my 6 and my 7. And then that goes there. For instance, Brooksy might choose his 3 and his 4. And that would go over there. And Kitty would choose 2 as well. We go through the same thing as before, selecting where we want to place each one. And just agreeing, for instance, this placement would be row 1, column 2, while this one would be row 1, column 1. And we could have a column 1, row 4. Yes, we'll place everything. This goes until the end of the round. You'll have less and less choices, so it gets a little bit easier every time to decide and specify how you're going to play it, although you do have more to look at. And then you go ahead and start the second round. The difference with the second round is instead of moving this way, they go ahead and move this way for the tiles. And then some of these will trigger when you get 3 of a kind. So for this one, you would draw 5, place 1, you would get to place. For the living, you would get to place one of these in the throne room, and so on and so forth. The thing with the utilities is the running side would go ahead and draw 3 and hold them up to the camera. So if this was it, and you would go ahead and choose which one you want. So for instance, I want number 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So I would take 3. If I did not have a copy of the game, I would then go ahead and look at the picture that was handed to me and find this one, which is number 8. And then I'd write down 8, and then I'd also write 2 per utility next to it, just to remind me so I don't have to constantly be going back to a picture on my phone. I can have everything written down in one place. And then this would all, of course, get placed face down in front of me. And then once the game is over, we go ahead and we score. Stonemaier has a really nice score sheet included in this. You can have a castle name, and you have places for all the scoring and totals and a grand total, which is a very nice. It is front and back, so you can use it very effectively, or you could laminate a few of them so that way you could have enough for the 7 players. And what is interesting about the game is the lowest scoring castle is what your score will be based on. So if between my 2 castles, the one with Brooksy and I scored lower than the one with Kitty and I, this would be the one that I would be scoring with. And if there is a tie, we would then look at our others. So if there's a tie between Brooksy and I, whoever had the highest score between our shared one with Kitty would then be the winner. So that is how you play between 2 castles. Something to note is when these rooms are selected, you say the corner icon and then the name, and then the remote side does go through these stacks and finds the appropriate room, which takes a little bit of time. These ones are really nice because they're all the same. So that is really easy to just go ahead and pull that out when applicable. So what do I think about this for remote play? This is a very high patience level game. Due to it having the drafting mechanism and having a ever evolving board where you need to be able to see all these icons, if they do not have a copy of the game, you are constantly sending them pictures to be able to update, and then they're scrolling back and forth between those, or they are writing down squares on a piece of paper and just writing down quick references of what the rooms mean, and then they could just look at the new images of the pictures for what they will be getting. It makes it so that it does take a little bit extra time for the drafting, which is the bulk of the gameplay. Deciding where you want to place each item and discussing it with other players. It takes some time as well. However, half of your gameplay is spent with this drafting on normal games. About 2/3 of it is spent with the drafting in remote play. That said, I do absolutely enjoy this game. I love that each individual room, for the ones that are separated out over in this, are all unique, which is awesome for the different varying artwork, for the variations in the scoring, for the variations in the game. It also does provide a little bit more to look through for remote play, as to find one room in the trees, you have to look through a stack that big. But you get used to it, and it becomes a little bit easier throughout time. The more you do it, the faster you get at it. You might find a way to be able to organize them by name, so that way you could just alphabetically go through it. That would save a little bit of time during the game. It would add a lot more time for setup. However, if you are leaving this pretty much set up for remote play, if you're playing this with remotely a lot, I would go ahead and organize them alphabetically, so that way it is easier for remote play, and then putting them back in at the end of every game you play, again, put them back in alphabetically would dramatically reduce setup. And I just want to say that this insert included makes it so that you can separate them out fairly well for remote play, and then just pull off the tops to put in these two areas, so that way it actually fits all the way in. So great job with these game trays. Love them thoroughly. I do really like that you're not just focusing on one of your castles. You're trying to get both of them very, very sturdy. But sometimes like, I have nothing for this castle, but I have something great for this castle. But oh, if I put that thing over here, it would be okay over there, but it would be really great over there. But if I can't get this castle any points, then what's the point in putting it over there? So I love the back and forth thoughts that that provides. Be aware that if you are playing this with one copy, you are going to be spending a lot more time looking at pictures, and that does take away from the game experience a little bit. But if you are just hanging out with your friends, sending pictures back and forth, commenting on the gorgeous artwork that are included in these tiles, then a little bit of time added, oh well. For 2 copies, you do have all of the rooms separated out by the corner icon, so it does make it a little bit easier to go ahead and go through them when the time comes. The worst part is being able to see them when you're holding them up to a camera. You have to either hold them up really close or take a picture again while squinting, or you can hold them up to a up close camera, and then when they have them, they would just say okay, and you just scroll through, which that would take a little bit more time. So our group, we just take pictures. It's the easiest way we found to do it. Between Two Castles is a really great game. It does get 2 different ratings for me based on in-person play and remote play. In-person play is a solid 9 out of 10. Really enjoy it. Really want to get it to the table again. Very easy breezy. Just you are able to get in and get crunchy. And then it is an 8 out of 10 for remote play, simply because the patience level is higher than I prefer. Bear that in mind, that your remote gaming experience is a little bit worse than in-person play. However, it is still a very good game. So go ahead, enjoy it. And hey, until next time, have fun, be present, and be you. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you find value in our content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend or family member that we exist. Help us spread remote gaming and bring remote gaming to a table near you.